This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, step number one, as part of demo, install Docker in Ubuntu. So that is something which I'm going to do. Step number two, after that, basic commands. And then step number three, container lifecycle. So container lifecycle command. So these are the things which I'm going to do that. Okay, so let's get started. So first I'm going to need one VM. So this is a Docker Ubuntu 24 I'm using. You can use 22 also. That's not a problem. At least a 2 CPU 4 GB RAM is sufficient for this demo. So I'll go for T2 medium, and I will create one uh, key for this batch, and ppk is sufficient, and create it. Now you can allow some traffic, depends on that, and 8 GB RAM is more than needed, and then disk is needed, and then good to go. So I have created this VM, and now let me see that. So this is the VM, and here you have IP address. So let me use the putty to connect to this machine, and I have to give the keys, right? So here I'm going the key ppk. If you are using SSH, you can generate PEM file, and good to go. So still that VM is not up, so I need to try one more time, and open, click OK, and now it's up. Username is Ubuntu. Okay, and then let me change a little bit of settings, so you will see little better font and style. So I think it is good. Now in order to run a Docker, you have a two condition. Either you become a root, which I will become a root, okay, this one, or if you want to run as a normal user, then you need to add yourself in a Linux group called Docker. So that way you can you will be allowed to run as a Docker command as a normal user. So remember that. So I become a root, that's not a problem. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the Docker. Now any tutorials, if you're looking for as such, you have to follow something like this: Docker install, at the end of it, DevOps School. So that way it will come my tutorials. So here this is the installation document for, if you see that this is a RHEL sent to us, and here you have Ubuntu. Click on it, and here you have these documents, these commands. Basically I have copied from the official document itself just to save time. If you are explorative a little bit in terms of working style, you can explore the official websites and install it from there also. So I'm just copying and pasting blindly these commands, which will help me to install the Docker. Demo would be faster in a cloud environment because you have a very good internet speed and things like that. Again, this all this thing you can do in the local VMs also in your laptop. So you can create a local VMs using VMware or VirtualBox, and you can run all these commands in local VMs also.
You just created a VM called Docker, right? And you're just installing the Docker there.
Right, yeah. I created a VM and logged in it, and then installing these commands installing Docker using these commands.
Got it.
And this is the last command. This will basically install Docker. Now, if you look at this here, there's a Docker CE. So Docker is primarily two version, Docker community version and Docker enterprise. Both are almost same except some of the extra features you have enabled with EE, but you don't need that. So if you see, this command will install community edition, CLI, containerd, and compose some plugins as well. That's okay for that. So this was the Docker installations. Basically, I installed Docker engine. Typically, we call it a Docker, but Docker engine is installed, which includes Docker client, Docker daemon, and few more utilities. So I think it will be done in few seconds. Done. Now I need to validate whether Docker is installed or not. So here, which Docker, and it's installed. Which Docker you see it's installed. Which containerd is there. Now Docker should be running. If it's not running, then you need to run it. So it's running already, right? So everything is good. Now if you want to know Docker version, which version has been installed, so I think 27. i think I think most latest one, I guess. And this utility Docker has been written in Golang. Okay, so that's the region you will find, you see, which Go version has been used. So this is the one. And there's a client, there is a server. Okay, so now if you want to know your system information using Docker, so Docker info is a handy commands. I must suggest you to spend some few minutes of time reading each and everything. Lots of information about your system, you will get it. So Docker info. Now, there are some of the fundamental commands which you need to know. For example, Docker images will tell you the list of images which you have in your machine. Right now, I have none. Docker PS will tell you the list of containers which is running in your machine. Right now, none. Docker PS-A command will tell you how many containers running, created, stopped, or something like that. Pause and unpause also. A means all. Okay. So these are some of the basic commands you need to know. I would suggest you to refer my this notes while practicing the Docker commands. And this is just type Docker commands and end of it DevOps School. And this is the good tutorials. You will definitely enjoy this. So first few commands and the working with containers, followed by monitoring containers, followed by working with image, and so on. Okay, so now what to do? So what I did, I installed the Docker and run some of the basics command. Now I am going to uh, create a containers by following the container lifecycle. So container lifecycle you should understand though. You should write something like a Docker container lifecycle DevOps School. Okay, so here this is the tutorial which I have created for you to understand. Say created, started, pause, unpause, and all these things which I explained you earlier. But this is complete details. You will find it useful for reference and learnings. Okay, anyways, I'll show you the demo right away. So now I need to run the container lifecycle. So what I need to do, this one. Let me do that. It's very easy. So first thing, what I'm going to do is I need an image. So which image? So I need a image from the Docker registry. If you remember the Docker registry, I'm going for Apache image. Okay, Apache is the one application which is Apache web server HTTPD. Here, this is the one. So this image is a official image, and I'm using it, downloading this image using pull command, and automatically it knows where to download from. Default is hub.docker.com. So it downloaded an image within a few seconds. In the local, if you try, it might take a little bit of more time. So it's a 148 MB. The image was created 9 days ago, published at Hub, and it's official image. So it is having Apache. I mean, it is having some base plus some user plus Apache in that image. Okay. So now I got an image. What to do? I am going to create a container. So Docker create HTTPD. Now there is one containers I created, Docker ps-a. You see, so container is there. So each container, you have a container ID, which is a 40 character hash value. In short, you can see the short version of it. From that image, inside the containers, there is one script will be running, which is running the container. Created, status created, and then some random name which was assigned to it. If you want to assign your own name also, that is very much possible. Lots of options you have to command line, which you can access it based upon your requirements. So I got the two containers now, and you see that I created a couple of containers and one more container. So three containers all together I created. Now, if you look at this, all these containers are in a created mode. That means not running. So let me run one container. So Docker start and container ID or name, both you can use it. So now if you see that one is running. Okay. So yes, you created a container and then you started it, right? Now let me start one more container, Docker start and container. Here I started the container. So it's like VM was not running and then you started the VM. Same way, container was not running. You created a container and then you are running a container. Now what you need to do? You need to stop this container. So Docker stop and container ID. And then here you see that you stop the container. When you stop the container, the status is become exited with 0. That means successfully it got exited. That means it's not running anymore, right? So again, you can start it back. You can start it back. Okay. So this you can do that, or you can restart it. So restart means stop and start. So what you need to do? Docker restart and enter. Here it is. And then you see here, I restarted the second container, which is there. So you created, you started, you stopped it, you restarted. Now what? So you can pause the containers also. So let me pause the containers. So Docker pause. In a pause mode, what happens? Pause mode, what happens? The containers is not getting the CPU allocated. RAM is being utilized, but CPU wouldn't get it. How do we see that? There is one more command which we have a Docker stats. So if you see that the pause container will have a no CPU allocations, you see here, but the running container is consuming CPU. There is no impact on the RAM on that sake of it. Okay, so Docker ps. So this is the paused. So you have to unpause the container in order to use it. So unpause and enter. And now you unpause this. After that, you want to kill the containers. Kill the containers and stop the containers. There is a very simple difference. Is like stop is graceful shutting down the containers, whereas a kill is a very brutal way to killing the processes. Okay, so the exit code will be non-zero if you kill the containers. So Docker kill and then enter, and you see that exit code 137. Remember that when we stop the containers, we had exit code 0. So it basically is brutal way to killing the container processes and things like that. So this is the container, you kill that. And after that, again, you want to remove it. So running containers, you cannot remove it. Okay, you see here, you cannot remove it. So if something is stopped, created, or exited, you can remove it, and done. So this is the whole life cycle of the containers which I showed you right now. So if you see that, just repeat this one from this perspective. You see that it's a very good image. You created a container, you can start this, it'll become running. You can pause unpaused, you can stop, start again, you can remove, and you can delete. So this way you can do that. Understood
So
now?
Rajesh, yeah, Rajesh, how the resource allocation happen to a container? Like how many CPU cores will be there, memory and all. On what basis it is getting decided inside?
Yeah. So remember that each container, don't give so much of importance to the container because each container is a process. So now if you look at this, how many containers is running? Only one. Look at the system utilizations here, ps-ef, and it's a pretty long one, so I have to filter it out. Grep container d. See here. So this is the one which you see. This is the your container. How much CPU is using? So here is your PID, and by PID you can trace basically top and 3 something like that, right? So you can trace like that. So
So
you
it is
can,
automatically locating those CPU and memory
yeah.
from this.
So the
Okay.
the rules for kernel is not related to container. Rules for kernel is if I'm having CPU and memory available and you are demanding, I'll give it to you. If
Hmm.
you're asking too much, then I will still try to give it to you, but it'll be in a batch processing. So that way, sometime if you ask too much of CPU and memory, the system will get hanged. That we call it a, uh, you know, something like a idle state or something like that. So that way. So now the question is, can we limit the CPU and RAM also demand?
Yeah.
Yes, you can do that. So here I did not limit that because I was just showing you the things.
Mhm.
But if you see that here, help, sorry, run command. Here you can define hell lot of things. I did not define anything because by default it will take it up.
Correct.
But let's say you want to define the memories. So yes, you can define the memories to the container.
Yeah, because if you're deploying one application in container and it required more memory or CPU to start up, right? So then
Yeah,
at that
yeah, you
time, like
can
you
even,
need to adjust.
yeah, you can everything you can customize. Just like a process. Container is
Hmm.
just a process. Yeah, just like a normal process. Any processes you can define how much memory it should consume. So here you can define a memories, network, you know, many other options are there, which is you can define the TTY users and many more actually.
Okay.
CPU. So a lot of configurations you have it. Okay.
Hmm.
So this is the one. So now what we have understood is what I have taught you is how to install Docker, some of the basics commands, and container lifecycle. Now, what we need to know in future and in the next session is how to use containers because you just run the containers. How to use containers, how to troubleshoot containers, right? How to create an image, that is important topic, and all. So these are the three important questions. And the last one, how to publish your own image. How to publish your own image. How to create and publish and share your own image using registries. So these are the four questions I would like to cover with you. And for that, let's connect in the next sessions. Any questions so far?
No, it's good.
Uh,
Okay.
right, this recorded video will be uploaded into portal. I mean
LMS,
somewhere.
yes. LMS, it will be available. I will share an update once I post that today in few hours.
Okay, sure. Thanks.
Thank you guys. Have a nice weekend.
Okay. Thank you, Rajesh.